All right, people, leaving the office. 6 o'clock. Here we go. When do I ever get out of the office at 6 o'clock? Almost never. Do 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 do. All right. What is it? The Thursday night drive. Dun, dun, dun. So, what are we going to talk about today? Read an interesting police report earlier today where two people are stopped by police and one is being questioned, and for some reason police pull a firearm on the passenger. They say that the passenger is fidgeting with the passenger is fidgeting with I guess a weapon under the passenger seat. Now, if you know the case law when it comes to passengers in Florida, there's some changing in the law, but ultimately, and I've told people this, if you're the passenger in a vehicle and a person is stopped for speeding or some kind of traffic citation, my understanding of the law, it may have changed since the last time I researched it. Last time I researched it was a couple years ago. But my understanding is the passenger can get out of the car and walk away, because the stop, right, the probable cause for the stop is the traffic citation of the driver. Now, there's some exceptions to this issue. If the officer smells the odor of marijuana, and I guess a medical marijuana card is not immediately presented, he can then hold everybody in the car, or she can hold everybody in the car. So, but generally speaking, go off the cuff here, generally speaking, if you're a passenger, front seat, back seat, wherever, and the police stop the driver for civil traffic infraction, you can get out and walk on your way. Now, does every police officer know the law? No. Will you possibly get screamed at or tackled or beaten or tasered or shot? It's possible. But you're not to be forced to sit there. You can get out of the vehicle. So again, there's some exceptions to that if the police have already said, hey, we're detaining everybody, because again, something like, for example, the odor of medical marijuana. But anyway, in this case, law enforcement drew down on the passenger. Apparently, I'm reading between the lines. I'm reading a police report. I didn't speak to the defendant. There's just a police report that I saw. The person jumps over to the driver's side and takes off. And the police start to chase, I guess, and then they don't chase, but then they track the vehicle. They show up and they tackle and harm the defendant. Then they charge the defendant, with fleeing and eluding aggravated a second-degree felony. I think 3 counts of that. And, resisting with violence, a couple of those. Driving while license suspended, kind of all these regular driving things. But then they charged a second case, and it looked like it was an aggravated battery on a police officer. Now, when I see, I'll be honest, when I see battery, aggravated battery on a police officer, my first impression, doesn't mean it's right, just a lot of cases over the years, my first impression is that they beat the suspect. That's my first impression. Whether it's right or wrong, that's where my mind goes, right? Because every time, not every time, many of times when I've had a case where the defendant is charged with battery on a law enforcement officer, they've gotten the shit beat out of them. And that's just the reality. So what does a police officer write? Not knocking police officers. There's some good ones and there's some shitty ones. Some good lawyers, some shitty lawyers, right? What does a police officer write on the report if he loses his cool, acts unprofessional, tasers, shoots, pounces a defendant? He has to say that the defendant came at him in an aggressive stance or tried to harm him or threw a punch at him or hit him, because if he doesn't say that, then there's no reason for a police officer to be beating or shooting or tasering a defendant, right? So that's my logic. Like, listen, I'm sure you could get the PBA attorneys or the Florida Patrol, whatever, like the legal attorneys on their side. Look, I get it. There are jackasses on the defense side. There are officers who've been attacked. There are officers who've been shot. I get it. There's officers that have been punched in the face. I get it. But I'm telling you from a general perspective, most of the defendants that I see, and just my experience, only mine, not the world's, they're not really badasses. Like, and I'm an old guy. I can beat up probably all of my clients. I'm not trying to beat them up, and it's not a contest. But what I'm saying is they tend to be like weed smoking, coke snorting, partying, but they're not these aggressive guys. Now, granted, I'm seeing them, I know, quote at their best, but I just haven't had a lot of badasses in my offices over the years. And I've had a lot of clients that are charged with battery on a Leo. And usually when I'm meeting with them, they've gotten, black and blues, or their face is swollen, or they got bruised ribs, or something's broken, or their nose is broken, or they've been scraped across concrete. Hell, I had a woman years ago. She's on one of my videos. Here's a great story for you about the wonderful police. And again, I'm not shitting on the police, telling a story that happens to be talking about situations where police have acted inappropriate. But one of these situations, a woman is she just left lunch. It is about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, like on a Tuesday, not on the weekend. It's right. She's driving and she is pulled over because they're in bumper to bumper traffic, and there's an allegation that she bumped the car in front of her. That's the allegation. The driver doesn't, like, I don't know, did she? I'm not even sure. I couldn't tell. Like, one of those kinds of things. The police get there, and this officer is very aggressive. And this officer's still there. And if I could remember his name, honestly, I'd shout him out because I think he's a piece of dirt. All right? Because a lot of times they get away. I might win the case, but they get away. I don't know how to sue. I don't know how to sue law enforcement officers, and I don't know how to convince a prosecutor to prosecute them. But I'll try when I see someone but I'll do that for anyone, not just police officers. All right? So this woman, the police show up, and it's like, oh, I think I may have bumped. And so this officer, without seeing, smelling, he goes, you need to get out of the car. And he's very aggressive with the woman. And the woman gets scared. She's a middle-aged mom. When I say, she's like 40s, 50, I don't know, she's in that 40s range. The officer says, if you don't get out of the effing car, and he doesn't even care, it's on body cam. If you don't get out of the effing car, I will cut the effing top off of your car. I will bring jaws of life in, and I will cut you out of the effing car. Then he's got a bunch of officers with him. He reaches in, grabs her, twisting her. Like another officer comes in from the passenger side. They fight. I mean, she just doesn't want to get out of the car. She's like, I'm not getting out of the car. I'm scared of you. You are acting crazy. And I believe the story because I fought the battle, right? And the officers literally drag her out, get her on the ground, hit her in the face on the ground. And it's on video. It's on video. And it took me until like the week before trial to move up through the state attorney's office and go, what the F is going on? How is this woman charged? So she gets charged with DUI. She gets charged with battery on a police officer. She gets charged with resisting with violence. Charge after charge after charge, right? Guess what happens when they take her to the hospital, guys? Right? They say she's impaired, right? Hospital takes blood, alcohol, and narcotics. Zero, nothing in her system. Nothing. But I have to fight that battle. Now listen, now I'll give the reverse story. Here's a reverse story, right? Because I just shit on cops, or I shit on those cops because they're shitty people and they shouldn't have a badge. I'm not against all cops. So now I'm going to give you the opposite side. I have a client that comes into my office, and this guy's driving like 42 in the right-hand lane on 95, and I'm behind him. So I'm going to speed up to 65. So the next case, the opposite side. A client comes into my office, young African-American male. He tells me, goes, man, I got pulled over for my tints, and like 8 or 10 officers beat the shit out of me. And I'm like, what the hell? Right? So I reach out to the state attorney's office, and I'm going, hey, well, like I'm advocating for my client based on, what, let's see, do you life, you didn't NYPD retired. All right, cool, brother. So here's my good story about cops, since we got a retired cop on here, because I just shit on the bad cops. Now I'm going to talk about the good cops. So my client gives me this whole story, and he is passionate. He's beaten up. Like, he's beaten up, but he's not really beaten up, but he's got some marks on him, right? His face is a little like swollen. So I take the case, I contact the case filing attorney, and I'm going, hey, what the hell's going on? And they go, it's already been filed. Okay, the client hired me too late. So I file in, I get the discovery, and I'm waiting. I'm prepping the case for trial, like so passionate. The kid doesn't have a lot of money. He gives me what he can. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take a stand, and I'm going to make sure that these officers pay, right? Because I had a bad experience with some of these officers in the same jurisdiction years before. So in my mind, right, I've already had a case with 16 bad cops at a scene, and they all lied on deposition, and I was able to prove it. No one got fired. But anyway, good cop scenario. Same jurisdiction. I watched the video. They have body cameras on now. They have cameras in their cars. The officer comes over to the thing, and he pulls him over because his tints are too dark. Totally legal. Yes, it's a white cop. Yes, it's a black defendant. So what? Right? Cop says, good evening, sir. It's all on body camera. Good evening, sir. The reason I'm stopping you is your tints look to be too dark. And he goes, okay. He goes, I bought it this way. Okay. He bought it that way. He goes, well, listen, if you just roll down the window a little bit, I'll do a 10 meter. If it passes, that kind of thing. As he's standing there, the officer smells the odor of marijuana, and the defendant, honestly, like, it's pretty rare when I read a police report and I say, well, he was acting fidgety. He was. And this is my client, so I'm biased, and I want to defend him, and I want to help him. But I looked at it and I went, he's acting a little weird. He's like, hey, well, what's going on? Like, why do you got to do my tit? Can't you just give me a warning? And he's speaking quick, and he's acting nervous, and it doesn't look weird. It looks weird to me, right? So the officer, he goes, hey, you know what? Can you step out of the car? He goes, like, do you have any weapons on? Do you have anything in the car? He goes, no. So he starts to get out of the car, and like the The cop opens the door. I don't really like that. Whatever. He opens the door. He says, hey, just step out. He's not being aggressive. He's like, sir, if you could just step out, just pat you down for my own safety. That's it. I'm not arresting you. I'm not doing anything. I'm just asking you to step out of the vehicle because the windows are dark and I really can't see in the vehicle. Okay, not so unreasonable, right? As he starts to get out, another officer walks over, and there's one officer who's like inside the door frame and another officer is on the outside of the door frame. They're both talking to him very gently. And all of a sudden, as he starts to get out, like he kind of makes like a quick movement, like he's going to run or he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And the cop goes, hey, what are you doing, dude? Like, why are you acting like this? You're scaring me. Let me pat you down, right? And all of a sudden, it turns into a battle. And when I say it turns into a battle, my client starts to run, right? The officer grabs him. They're not, listen, I mean, I fought for years, right? They're not hitting him. They're not punching him. They grab his wrist so that he can't grab at anything, right? And I get it. They can't see in the car, right? So he starts to scream and then he starts to call, oh, you effing pigs, you pieces of shit. Oh, you white bat, like, every racial slur, every anti-cop statement you could make. And these two guys are like going, dude, like, why are you acting like this? I just need you to step to the back of the car. I'm going to check the tents. Right? So it turns into this thing. And as they grab him, right, they grab his wrist, right, kind of like a jiu-jitsu move, right? You control the hands so the hands can't hurt you, right? No one's going to really headbutt you and hurt you or anything, right? It's the hands. Can they grab a knife? Can they grab a gun? Well, this guy doesn't want to give his hands up, and he starts reaching into his pants. So they're like, the next thing you know, other cops are showing up on scene because one cop's like, car six, we need backup because he is fighting. And these cops are like, honestly, they're pretty jacked cops, and this guy is moving them around the car. So it ends up getting taken to the ground. Other cars pull up. Everyone's got body cameras on. I mean, everybody. The guy's on the ground. Nothing is happening, like, except he's kicking at the police officers. He did an elbow thing. It was like a Conor McGregor in the corner. He literally shoulder butts. The only time I've ever seen that is like in MMA. He literally goes like this to hit the cop in the face. And the cop's like, watch him. He's like, yeah. And then the guy tries to grab the cop's gun. And I'm going, holy shit, this is like the innocent little guy that came into my office and, I didn't do anything. So it becomes like an all-out brawl because now this guy grabs one of the officer's guns, right? Officers are coming in, they're trying to grab legs because he's like kicking them off. And he's like kind of an average sized guy. He's not a real big guy, but he's not a small guy. Probably a 190 pound, 195, something like that, 185 to 200 pound guy. But he's moving these officers. They grab legs, they grab arms. Every friggin' one of them has a body camera, and I'm sure that's why he didn't get his ass beat. But like, sorry, but that's my thoughts, right? Because he's kicking them, he's trying to punch them, he's doing everything, and he's saying the most ridiculous, racial, anti-police, like as bad as it can get. Right? They hold him down, but they can't even get with, like, they literally have 8 officers at one point, and they can't control him. He's moving and twisting into like, hands. Well, I'm trying to think, did they tase him? At one point, I think they go taser, and people try to back up, and like the taser doesn't even work on the guy, right? So now they're going, dude, stop, like, why are you doing this, right? It all turns out, at the end of the day, the cop smelled weed, right? So he says it on the camera, right? He's like, dude, like, he even says to the kid, he goes, hey man, like, you're pulling away, like at the very beginning of this interaction. He's like, dude, if you got some weed, just tell me you got some weed. Like, if it's a misdemeanor amount, like, I'm not even charging you. I'll make you throw it away and move on. Well, guess what, guys? It turned into not a misdemeanor amount. It turned into a couple of pounds of weed in a book bag. Now, I get this stuff, and I'm like, holy shit. Now, when I got the case filing, just so you know, and I don't know why they did it, because super nice cops, lazy prosecutor, one or the other, they changed the battery on the Leo and the resisting with violence to a possession of marijuana over 20 grams with intent to sell, right, based on weight. And they changed the charge to resisting without violence. And I'm like, holy shit, like, I didn't even do any magic, right? That was like, you know, God intervened. I don't know if God intervenes for drug dealers and stuff, but, you know, there was an intervention of some sort, right? Now, I'm watching this video in my office going, holy shit, when the case, the trial attorney sees this, they're going to go crazy because, like, he's already got every benefit you could possibly have. And I find out, right, that he had a prior possession with intent and had gotten probation for that. I call up the state attorney's office. I get a prosecutor that's changing divisions who's relatively a new person. He goes, I'll give you an adjudication and a year of probation. That makes the guy a convicted felon. I go, hey, too much. He goes, look, I'm about to leave the division. Dude, give me a withhold and we're good. I get him to give me the withhold. I set it before he could change his mind, or, you know, I go accept, right? And we get to court. Now, I call my client and we set the court date for like 4 or 5 days. And I go, listen, you're going to be on probation for a year. You cannot be around weed unless you have a marijuana card. He goes, okay. I go, don't have, like, he's like, okay, how many days do I have? I go, you have, 4 days, 5 days. It's set next week, right? I go, okay. So now we get to court and we're waiting for the judge because there's a bunch of cases. He goes, can I speak to you outside? And I go, sure. I go, what's up? He goes, well, when's probation coming to my house? I go, immediately, whenever they want. I mean, the judge is going to put the gavel down 5 minutes. You're going to be on probation. You're going to go check in with, felony probation. You're going to be on probation, and then they can come whenever they want. And he's like, oh, dude, I don't know. What don't you know? Apparently, he's got a bunch of product at his house. And I'm like, dude. Now, again, I can't tell him take it out. That now I'm like stuck, right? I'm an officer of the court. I can't be like, oh, well, go. I'm like, listen, dude, you're about to go on probation. This offer's only good for today. The prosecutor's changing. A new prosecutor will come in, and you're probably going to get a lot more than a year of probation and a withhold. And he's like, okay, I'll take it. I'm like, I don't know. Never heard from him again. But ultimately, he shared with me that he had drugs or a grow house or something going on in his house. I didn't even ask because I don't want to know. But that was a case where the cops did it right. It wasn't a racial issue. It wasn't a police brutality issue. The guy straight up lied, right? And I was ready to, I took the bait, like, dumb defense attorney. Oh, that cop did that. Okay, I'll get him, blah, blah. Let me get him on the stand, Like, I was like eager beaver, ready to crush the police department. And every one of those 8 officers that showed up, one officer, okay, sorry, he did get punched in the face. Remember I said he had some bruising on the face? So after they got him controlled, right, and he's like, they're having to hog tie this guy. As he's getting in the car, he's able to move his arms enough and hit one of the officers. And one officer came by, went boom, boom, and hit him twice to the face. He stopped. They put him in. And then, they were worried about like him spitting on him, so they put a spit net. Okay, you know what? I don't have a problem with that officer hitting him twice to get him under control when he just hit another person. Listen, officers have a lot of discretion, and a lot of times it's way too much because you get the bad guy, like I said, with the woman, the mom who, driving in the middle of the day, he thinks she's DUI. He acts real aggressive and literally drags her out of the car, puts an elbow to her face, and breaks her nose and all kinds of shit. Nothing happens to that guy. Nothing. I got the case to go away, but nothing happened. So it's like anything. There's good people, there's bad people. I think it's every job, but the good people need to talk up, and they need to talk up more when bad shit happens. So anyway, it's Thursday night, and I gave you an incidence of shit officers, and I gave you an incident of very, very good officers. And as a defense attorney, again, criminal and personal injury, but defense for criminal, you never know what you're going to see. I've had crazy cases where I've had bad cops, and I've had crazy cases where I've had really bad clients. So it's fact specific. Don't think that all cops are bad. Don't think that all defendants are right. There's a healthy mix. It just sucks because police are held to a higher standard, because they should be, just like an attorney is held to a higher standard, because you should have the knowledge and know right from wrong. And when you see, what about that defense attorney, was it last year in Palm Beach? He took paper and he soaked it in cocaine, and he was bringing in, like, I don't know, a ream of cocaine into the Palm Beach County Jail. And now, because of that, we all have to photocopy all of our paper in pink when we go to the jail now, because some idiot defense attorney decided that, I don't know what kind of money he's making to do that, but there's not enough money in the world. I mean, the only thing I could think of is maybe the cartel had his family or something. I can't imagine why any attorney would smuggle cocaine into a jail. Jeez Louise. And that guy, I wonder what happened to him. I haven't looked up that case, but if anyone knows, leave it in the comments. Sometimes I get so busy reading my own cases that I don't have time to even read the news. I used to read Yahoo, but it's so ridiculously kind of fake news, and I hate to use that expression, but sometimes I quit reading Yahoo because I would just read it for like quick blurbs, but then it was like so much stuff. I was like, this is ridiculous. I can't listen to it anymore. But I don't watch the news. I don't watch CNN. I don't watch Fox. You know what my news is? What happens if I hear something on the radio, and I usually not even on the radio. My wife mentions something, or someone says anything, or if I'm on a Facebook, like checking in with college friends or teammates, and I see something going on, then I might Google it and read it, or if I'm watching YouTube videos for do-it-yourselfers on the weekend or something. So anyway, guys, I'm rambling. If you enjoy it, give it thumbs up. If you hate it, I don't know, give me a thumbs down, or tell me it sucks. I'm just randomly talking. If there's a topic you want to talk about, and it's personal injury or criminal defense, I like to talk about that stuff. So I have a lot of knowledge, and I'm willing to share it. All right, guys, it's getting dark, so enjoy your night. God bless.